Hello and welcome back to Hearthstone. My name's Lumin and right now it's time to look at some more Cursive Naxxramas cards. Now I realize most of you are probably already playing Cursive Naxxramas by the time this video goes live, but I want to be thorough. I want to look at all the cards, I want to make videos of all the cards before actually jumping in to play the game, so here we are. I'm looking at gold versions of the cards this time, so you can see the really nice looking animations on them as well. And at the end of the video, after all the cards, we're going to look at some new card backs that were announced or revealed. These are not all available right away. Some of them are actually from as of yet unannounced events, so that's pretty exciting. But with that said, let's jump straight in. First up, we have the Noob our Weblord. This is a 2-mana cost 1/4 minion, and it's got a really cool ability. Minions with Battle Cry cost 2 more, and if you ask me, I think this will fit in pretty much any deck out there. Mainly because it's firstly kind of cheap, it fills that 2-mana slot. The stats on it are really good. I mean, it's great for dealing with aggro decks. Really great. Just think about it. There are so many Battlecry cards that you want to slow down, that you'd want to not have played by your opponent, that could potentially help them just beat you down into submission kind of early on. This will slow those down. This will actually force your opponent to use that Soulfire that they always have on this instead of on something else, and so on and so forth. I think it's really cool. And again, I think this would fit in pretty much every deck out there if you want something like this in it. I personally am super keen for it. I personally want this in every single deck just because it'll help me so much against these Zoolock decks. Moving on, next card, the Unstable Ghoul, 2 mana for a 1/3. I feel like this one fills much the same role as the previous one, and yes, all these cards look super cool. The animations are amazing. I want them all in golden, but whatever, we're not going to talk about that now. We're talking about the card itself and its stats. It's got Taunt and it's got Death Rattle. Death Rattles deal 1 damage to all minions. The Death Rattle itself is actually the same as the Warrior's Weapon. That also deals 1 damage to all minions when it expires, when it gets used completely. But I say it fills the same role as the other one because it'll also help you a lot against aggro decks, and at the same time it could also work kind of well in certain decks that run things like Acolyte of Pain. I mean, warrior decks with armor smiths and stuff like that in. Decks that need to get minions enraged. The built-in Whirlwind is just great. I like it a lot. And again, there are still things that will interact nicely with it that we're going to talk about in just a few moments. So keep this card in mind as we go forward and move on to the next card, the Stoneskin Gargoyle. This is a 3-cost 1/4. At the start of your turn, restore this minion to full health. Kinda cool. Okay, and I have confirmation that this counts as a heal. So that does mean it interacts with cards like Northshire Cleric, Light Warden, Orkanai Soul Priest, which means it'll kill itself if you got that out instead of heal itself. Also, if you buff it up, it'll heal to its full life instead of just 1/4. I like it. I really, really like this card, and I'll definitely try and find a spot to put it in one of my priest decks. Next card, the Zombie Chow. I don't know why, but I just like this card. Maybe it's the name that does it for me, but 1 cost for a 2/3. Death Rattle, restore 5 health to your enemy. That's, well, that's big. That would mean it would have to attack at least 3 times before it dies to be good value for you. But at the same time, if it instead gets played and you don't even bother attacking your opponent's face, so your opponent is still on full life, and you kill, say, 2 smaller minions with this 1/2/3, then you got a really good trade out of it because it's only 1 mana cost. I don't know. I think this is going to see a lot of use. A lot of people are going to be playing it. 1 mana for a 2/3. It's ridiculous. Sure, there's the Flame Imp for Warlocks, which is 1 mana for a 3/2. That's also kind of crazy, but that one immediately hurts you. This one you can still silence. You can avoid having the Death Rattle proc in some way. You can have it heal your opponent when they're already full. I don't know. I think this is going to be used quite a lot. I think it's very powerful. It's just a straight up good card. Next we have the Haunted Creeper. This is a 2 mana cost 1/2 beast. It's got a Death Rattle that summons 2 1/1 Spectral Spiders. Now the Spectral Spiders we'll have a look at right after this, but they are not beasts. The fact that this is a beast, however, is good for hunters. It's something they obviously keep in mind, but if you look at the value that you get from this card, it's not half bad. You're paying 2 mana for the 1/2 Haunted Creeper, then after that you still get 2/2's worth of Spectral Spider. So if you add that all together, then you get a 3/4 for 2 mana. That's impressive, and I really like the fact that there are so many good smaller minions come in. I don't like that that probably means we're just going to be seeing a whole bunch of aggro decks, but hey, there's a lot of counter aggro in all the Naxxramas stuff as well, so that's fun. Now moving on, this is the Spectral Spider. It's just a 1 mana cost 1/1. Nothing special about it. Looks kind of cool, but that's it. Next, the Mad Scientist. This is the Crazed Alchemist's brother. 2 mana for a 2/2. Death Rattle, put a secret from your deck into the battlefield. Not bad. I mean, I'm not going to say it's the best card ever. It's probably one of the slightly more lackluster ones in Cursive Naxxramas, but it's easy to kill or get killed, so that's important. And if you have a whole bunch of really good secrets in your deck, then it, I guess, becomes more valuable. Now, I feel like it would be more useful for mages just because their secrets cost more and they'd obviously then get the most value out of it, but it's still a nice card. I don't have that much more to say about it. 2 for a 2/2 is okay. I think it'll help out a lot, and I'm hoping secret decks make a comeback so we can see more of them. More variety. I think just in general, more variety is good. Next up, the Spectral Night. This is a 5 mana cost 4/6, and it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. If I'm not mistaken, this is everyone's favorite. 5 mana cost, so it fills a gap that's currently in the game. A lot of decks have problems filling that 5 mana spot. It mostly goes to Azure Drakes at the moment, which are really good, but this right here is a 4/6, and it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. It's a juggernaut like that. 6 health. You gotta kill it with minions or weapons. That's madness. It's like the new Yeti, I guess, just because of how much value you'd get out of it and because of how hard it is to kill. More life, really good. 4 health, really annoying. Especially if you consider, you know, a priest just can't kill this. How is a priest going to kill this? They can't use any spells on it. Their spells don't do 6 damage anyway. They all do, you know, less or 5 at most. You can't Shadow Word Death it. You can't Shadow Word Pain it. What do? What do? Spectral Night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have that in every single deck I make ever. Just because it's so good. Next up, the Sludge Belcher. This is the Abomination's long-lost cousin or something. 5 mana for a 3/5 with Taunt, and its Death Rattle is summon a 1/2 slime with Taunt. I like it. I think it's kind of cool. I like 5 mana cost stuff in general. I don't know why, but a 3/5 is a Shield Master. I think most people will probably still just play the Shield Masters, but when it dies, and if it doesn't get dispelled or silenced or whatever, then it still summons another 1/2 Taunt, which is a Goldshy Footman. And that's the way I look at this. You are paying 1 extra for that Death Rattle, and for the Death Rattle, you get in a 1/2. So this is pretty much just a Shield Master and a Goldshy Footman jammed into one. Exact same cost, because if you add that 1 cost, it makes it 5 from 4. The stats on the Sludge Belcher are the same, so there you go. It's not as good as some of the other cards that have been revealed, but it is nice in that it gives you 2 minions in 1. Also, once again, keep in mind that Death Rattle can be augmented and twisted and used and abused in so many different ways in Cursive Naxxramas that could end up being much more useful. It could end up being much more than just a 1/2 slime with Taunt. But there you go, next up, the 1/2 slime with Taunt. It costs 1 mana. It's a Goldshy Footman, but green. Now here we have the Wailing Soul. Battlecry, silence your other minions. This is 4 mana for a 3/5, which is the same as you pay for a Shield Master, but it's got a very useful Battlecry in that you'll probably use this to silence your negative Death Rattles. I like it. I think it's really, really cool. The thing is that this will remove taunts and stuff like that from your other minions as well, so this would only fit in specific decks. You can't just use it in everything. I mean, imagine silencing your own Harvest Golem. That would suck. Again, though, it's a very useful Battlecry in certain situations, so I think this will also see quite a lot of play. Next up, the Death Lord. This is so good and so bad at the same time. 3 mana for a 2/8. Taunt and Death Rattle. The Death Rattle is your opponent puts a minion from their deck into the battlefield. Just think about that. That's any random old minion. If you get really lucky, then your opponent puts something really small in, like a Goldshy Footman. If you get unlucky, you know, they pop out a Deathwing, and then you lose. This has some nice synergy with spells and battle cries and things that swap health and attack around, or the priest spells that maybe boost the attack up to the same as the health. You know, if you think about that, if you use a Crazed Alchemist on this, then it'll be a 8-2 and you can do a ton of damage on turn 3 or 4, depending on when you play this. You gotta keep in mind that this is susceptible to things like Shadowword Pain. Imagine how sad that would be if someone Shadowword Pains it the second you play it, or you can steal it with Cabal Shadow Priest, but 8 life, Taunt, very useful. Next, Echoing Ooze, probably my favorite of the lot. I don't know why. I mean, it should probably not be because it's not that special, and I guess it could end up being a big flop if you don't use it properly, but this is a 2 mana cost, 1-2 with a battle cry that says summon an exact copy of this minion at the end of the turn. So what happens is, if you play this, then you buff it up something fierce with a bunch of different stuff, then at the end of your turn it makes an exact copy. So if you buffed it up with, I don't know, let's say +5/+5, it ends up being a 6/7, then it'll make you another 6/7 that you can use in your next turn. That's pretty crazy. It's really cool. I think that there are going to be a lot of nice combos to use with this as well. It can fit nicely with things like Avenge, the Paladin's Secret, or maybe things like the Dark Cultist from Priest. So you can obviously play this, ram the Dark Cultist into something, get this buffed up, end your turn, have another version of the buffed up one, and then you're golden for the turn after that. I think it's great. Also, the artwork is really cool. You guys must let me know which is your favorite of the artwork. Now we're moving on to the big cards, the legendaries. This is Stalag, 5 for a 7/4. Death Rattle, if Fugan also died this game, summon Thaddius. 5 for a 7/4, that's okay. It is in range of things like Big Game Hunter, Shadowword Death, and all the others like that. 4 life is kind of weak, but hey, this is supposed to be combined with Fugan, which you'll see in a split second. Here you go. This is Fugan. Death Rattle, if Stalag also died this game, summon Thaddius. Fugan is the exact opposite. Now Fugan costs 5 for a 4/7 instead of a 7/4. This is much more difficult to deal with. 7 life. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I like it. So if both of them die, they summon Thaddius, who is a monster of a card. You cannot play Thaddius any other way. So there's no Thaddius card that you collect or anything. He's just there. So if you own those other 2 legendaries, you can actually just have access to Thaddius. Then you need to get them both dead in each game, obviously. Then Thaddius will come into play. But he's an 11/11. That's huge. Absolutely huge. I don't even know what to say. I think that when that happens, you lose the game. Obviously, just something like a Shadowword Death, Naturalize, Poison Seeds, I don't know. There are a bunch of spells that can deal with this, even Polymorph or whatever. But it's still kind of scary, and it's a very fun combo. Now, obviously, you're going to want to have both legendaries in your deck. You're not just going to play one of them. And the sad thing is, in terms of legendary cards, they're not that useful. It's just a lot of meat in your deck, which is nice. You know, some decks want that, some decks need that, but they don't have on-play effects that are really good. And if you think about it, their Death Rattles could be silenced, so I don't know. I think it is still kind of risky, and I'm not sure how it works, but I think if one of them gets silenced and then dies, then your combo's gone. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyway, next up, Kelthuzad. He is an 8 mana cost, 6/8. At the end of each turn, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. A true lich. I like it. I really, really like this card. I think it's amazing. Now, this is obviously going to work really well if you have a lot of expendable minions or minions to charge or whatever. Or if you can just have a bunch out, play him as like a surprise, trade, take out your opponent's minions, and then have all yours resurrected. I think that's really good. He is a decent card. I think he'll fit in a whole bunch of different decks. Even bringing back things like the legendaries we just had a look at sounds like a very interesting combination. If you bring Stalag and Fugan back, then you can summon Thaddius and still have them both in play. That's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Anyway, let me know what you think about Kelthuzad. I think it's very cool, fun-looking legendary. This next one, I also like a lot. This is Naxxramas, the Spider Queen. She's a beast. She costs 6 mana for a 2/8, and her ability is to destroy any minion damaged by her. So it's the same as the Emperor Cobra or the Patient Assassin, except she'll be able to damage stuff and live. I like it. You can actually use her on big cards because there aren't a lot of minions in the game with more than 8 damage. So this should, in most cases, go 2 for 1, if not more than 2 for 1. She does have 2 attack though, which is once again kind of easy to kill for something like a priest. And I do think there are going to be a lot more priests playing now come Naxxramas just because there are so many fun combos, but whatever. She looks like she could be fun to use, and with that done, we're going to move on to the card backs. This first one is the Icecrown Citadel card back. This is for next month's season. This is for the August 2014 season. It's going to look so good animated. I can already tell. This is just beautiful. And they are outdoing themselves with every single card back they reveal. Next one is the Heroic Cursive Naxxramas card back. I think you need to defeat all the bosses in Heroic mode to unlock this, which, I don't know, is probably going to be a bit of a challenge, but it shouldn't be impossible. I think most people should be able to get this eventually. And again, this just looks like it's going to be really cool animated. Very green. Very much my favorite of the lot of them. Just like I like the Echoing Ooze. I don't know why. I don't know why I like the green, but I do. Then we've got this. A lot of people were saying, oh, Midsummer. Definitely Midsummer. Then some people said Tespa, which is a association that Blizzard works with quite often, because this looks like their logo. But I don't know. This is for an as of yet unannounced event. So we're not sure, but it will probably be revealed or announced at some point in the not too distant future. I like it though. It looks really cool. Nice colors on it. Very Blood Elfy in some ways, I guess. Finally, we have the Cursive Naxxramas one. This one we get at the end of the month. All of us that made it to rank 20 in this rank play season will get this card back. And that is me done. Finished. I want you all to tell me what you thought of the cards that we looked at in this video, of the cards that you've seen thus far in Cursive Naxxramas, and all the rest. What's your favorite artwork? What's your favorite card statistically? Tell me. You can also check back here soon for more. Give this video a like, share it, and do all that other good stuff. Thanks a bunch for watching, if you did. Most importantly though, happy Cursive Naxxramas, and happy all the amazing cards that Blizzard have put in it. Happy that.